Hello, I'm meteorologist Ted Keller. We have a multi-day severe weather threat coming in here for today, tomorrow, Friday, and Saturday. There are severe weather threats of significance. Two of those are very significant. The other one remains to be seen. It's the one on Saturday. And then we have another outlook that's being highlighted 2 days in a row now by the Storm Prediction Center for Tuesday of next week. So this is the 500 millibar flow as we think it'll look at 6 p.m. today, Thursday, featuring a very sharp trough of low pressure coming in, just approaching the Four Corners area with diffluent flow out ahead of it, meaning the winds are spreading out and increasing wind speeds across the plains, more than sufficient to support supercells. And of course, if you get a supercell, that lines right up with any severe weather threat. So let's take a look at how this breaks down in pieces here. First of all, I did want to say there is a level 1 out of 5 chance from parts of Kentucky in through West Virginia and maybe a little bit of Maryland. But obviously, this is catching your attention too, and we'll zoom in on that. So let's look at what's happening down here. We have an enhanced risk, 3 out of 5 chance on the scale, I should say, not chance, right along I-40 between Amarillo and Oklahoma City. That's where that's expected later on tonight, with a level 2 and a level 1 surrounding that. The level 2 area, the slight risk, does get up to the Wichita area and does also encompass parts of Texas, including Amarillo and Lubbock. And then the level 1, level 2, kind of in the Oklahoma City area. That would be late tonight as those storms develop, basically in this area right here initially. There is a tornado risk with this, and it is set at 5% right now. And that's 5% chance of a tornado within a 25-mile circle. And that also gets Enid, Oklahoma into the mix here. It does go down into the panhandle of Texas and those areas. And Oklahoma City, again, would be on the edge of this if it were to survive long enough into the nighttime hours. And again, all this is for today, Thursday. Most of this is considered to be evening activity, or at the very earliest late afternoon. If we look at the learning model from Colorado State University, it does put a 2% tornado risk generally in that area. It is also, and rightly so, emphasizing the hail with some of these storms. 2-inch hail, maybe a little bit larger in some of these storms. And if we look at Nadocast, it does plant actually a 10% probability of tornadoes right along that area there where the Red River intersects Texas. And so that's interesting as well. If we look at the supercell development, and this is just the HRRR's version of it, I chose 7 p.m. not 6 p.m. because the thunderstorms were a little more widespread. I also wanted to show you the helicity, the updraft helicity tracks right here. This is a sure sign that these are actually supercells. So these would be crossing over north of Childress and approaching Elk City by early evening, and it remains to be seen whether these storms have what it takes to be supercells as well. And of course, the thing I always tell you about these simulated radars is take them with a grain of salt. Same day may be somewhat accurate. A county or two error on this, very common. So just, again, keep that in mind. But the general area has been highlighted pretty well. Oklahoma City would have to see if these things can survive the evening and find enough jet stream energy and instability to still be a threat, a significant threat anyway, by the time they got over to those areas. Now, let's go and turn our attention to Friday. Everybody's talking about that. This entire jet stream pattern is actually part of a positively tilted trough. Now, that right there suggests to me that we're going to have to look for some little fragments of low pressure developing. I'm thinking right in that area for especially the tornado development part of it. But this entire area broadly is severe thunderstorm country. Basically, when you look at a setup like this. And in fact, the SPC is maintaining their level 3 out of 5 outlook, which is called the enhanced view. That certainly includes Kansas City, as it has for the last few days. To their credit, they have really been on top of this. Tulsa is right in the heart of this. Wichita is just on the edge, but close enough. And all those areas in southeast Kansas, Chanute, for example, would be in the danger zone, I think, for the most severe of all the thunderstorms that actually develop on Friday. And of course, this is a large area of level 2 that goes all the way up to Chicago. It includes Dallas as well. Here is the tornado outlook. It's a 10% chance of a tornado within a 25-mile circle. That does include Kansas City. Again, just areas just to the east of Wichita, which would include like Chanute and Parsons, Kansas, certainly getting down to the Tulsa area Friday. And we'll take a look at one radar's interpretation of that in a second, and I'll tell you what I think. But on Friday, again, the tornado risk, interestingly, and this has been consistent too, is put at a 5% chance way up in Wisconsin and Iowa, and also a little bit of that area in the enhanced region. Hail, a very significant threat. We're looking at a 30% probability of significant hail. I believe the threshold on it is 2 inches or more, and a little bit of wind damage with some of that activity too, especially the northern end of whatever develops. What is going to develop? Again, we have to really grain of salt this thing, because this is now pushing the HRRR out to its maximum possibilities. But this is what it thinks the radar will look like at 6 p.m. So this right here, I think, is possibly in an area where the winds might just be backed enough to support a little more tornadic activity in here. I see a few streaks of updraft helicity in there. Okay, this is more or less along the front. And then, so what I think will happen is this area right here will be one maximum area of storms. Then we also have this, I think, is rather interesting. Here's Springfield, Missouri. You guys, a lot of people who are watching this live here. It's where I live. Been here for a while. I'm just kind of eyeing these storms here as coming up mostly into northwest Arkansas, but maybe clipping southwest Missouri, and some of those may be initially severe as well. I will have a heads up for the Ozarks video later on today when I get more data in that will attempt to detail the frame by frame of what's going to happen on Friday. I think that the majority of the really severe activity will wait, but I'm increasingly concerned about this in the early evening, especially in northwest Arkansas. We'll take a look at it later. On Saturday, this entire frontal system, of course, does what it usually does, which is accelerates on its northern end and then kind of drags behind a little bit, but it does advance. But we do have a slight risk in places like Pittsburgh, PA, a good chunk of West Virginia, and also down around the Houston area, maybe including Austin, Texas, for Saturday. CSU's look at that. The tornado threat, broad brush 2% up in that same area, including a little bit more of Michigan and a little bit more right along and ahead of the front from northern Louisiana into northern parts of Alabama, with the wind risk moving up into New York and Pennsylvania. Then I wanted to show you, this is day 2 of consistency on this, so the models are showing confidence that severe weather will occur on Tuesday in a very traditional area, including possibly a dry line setup. And this is the implication of this is that it forms here and then moves up into this area. Just you can tell by the shape of it. That is actually very significant. Now, what I think is very significant about this is that this the CSU probabilities are really high up in Michigan. And if you compare that to here, so it is looking at the model data and saying that, okay, we're going to get a lot of instability and favorable wind shear up into this area, whereas the SPC is holding back on that a little bit, and rightly so. You know, these CSU models are very helpful. I like looking at them and showing them to you, but they are not the absolute guidance on this. 3, 2, 1. I did want to show you the supercell composite. This is basically for the next 7 days. It outlines everything very nicely. It would actually include this area in question up here, so we'll see how that develops. But this encompasses every severe weather thing I just showed you for the next 7 days. Interestingly, if we go ahead to week 2, this is a significant change for the middle, and then week 3, the end of March, we had a really robust area of high probabilities here when I did this video yesterday. So does that mean we're safe? I wouldn't think so. What this tells me is that the models are out to lunch and really wildly fluctuating on possibilities at the upper levels of the atmosphere for the middle and late March. So I would stay tuned to that particular development for severe weather.